House of the Dragon is the prequel to the critically acclaimed HBO TV series Game of Thrones. It takes place 200 years before the age of Daenerys Targaryen. For the purpose of this video, we're going to discuss how it compares to Game of Thrones, and there will be no spoilers, and we'll go off only what we knew before the episodes actually aired, as well as we saw from the trailers. As of right now, there are only 4 episodes, and the 5th will be coming out tomorrow, Sunday the 18th in the evening, which is a trend I very much liked, like they did in Game of Thrones, where you had to wait till like 9 p.m. to actually watch it, which is pretty cool. House of the Dragon will revolve around the exploits of House Targaryen, namely between 3 individuals, Rhaenyra, Viserys, and Daemon Targaryen. Similar to Game of Thrones, there is obviously a king in power, and they have their own small council. Plots, schemes, and debauchery are all present as well, once again keeping faithful to Game of Thrones. You'll also, to no surprise, see some of the houses you see in Game of Thrones, which makes sense since again, this is a prequel. References are also made to the Game of Thrones we know, which is a nice gesture for those who already saw Game of Thrones. Similar locations will also be explored, and it's cool to see the locations in the past compared to present day. A reason I like this show is, as a prequel, it gives us insight into how the realm came to be under Robert Baratheon's rule, albeit it is a way before then. Game of Thrones had some flashbacks in it due to Bran's vision with like the three-eyed raven, but now we're getting an entire series based on the past. This show is also, from what we can see and what we've been told, going to jump cut to closer and closer to Daenerys' time. So it starts 200 years before her, then maybe 176 years before her, then it might go to 100, then even 50. Now as it gets closer and closer to her actual reign, we might even see more of like a young Ned Stark like we saw in Bran's flashback, or a young Lyanna Stark, a young Robert, Stannis, Renly Baratheon, and how they came to power. We might be able to get insight into how the Mad King came into power, how he became completely warped by his visions, how he was potentially good and then became evil. And not necessarily all Targaryens have to go through that kind of quote-unquote evil phase where, you know, someone like Daenerys replicated the exact thing from the Mad King, which was one of the main things that was a factor with her, whether or not she would become mad just like him, because her brother Rhaegar was completely fine with Lyanna, and he was just a peaceful Targaryen, even though Robert wanted pretty much all Targaryens dead. The possibilities they can do with this show is endless, but as of right now, it seems to be fixating on Rhaenyra Targaryen and her potentially ascending to the throne. In terms of pacing, the show does seem to be going rather quickly. Now again, nothing wrong with that, it just feels as though we might need more time and substance based on current events, which again, I'm not going to spoil. We want to see the evolution of characters, which I am sure will be done in the future, but as of right now, it doesn't necessarily feel that way. The acting is done rather well, which is always pleasant to see. What I hope for this show, much like Game of Thrones, is having scenes that really make you drawn in and want to see more. For me, the 3 scenes that really got me were Season 3, where Jaime speaks to Brienne about why he killed the Mad King, Season 4, where Tyrion underwent his trial, and Season 6, where Davos confronts Melisandre in front of Jon. Another thing I like that they've done is, besides show us a sense of nostalgia, they've managed to tie some scenes to Game of Thrones in terms of execution. Now again, since I'm not spoiling anything, basically if you see a scene and you think, hey, this seems familiar, it's probably because it is, and they wanted to replicate it, which is a very nice callback that I love. Overall, this video was very brief, but I just wanted to showcase how the story is going so far, how it could potentially lay out into the future, and that so far House of the Dragon for me is a pretty good show. Let me know if you've all seen it so far, if you intend to see it, and even if you'd like me to review each of the episodes in much more detail. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.